The Galactic Council chamber stretched across what seemed like miles of polished obsidian floor, its vaulted ceiling disappearing into artificial stars. Emily Rodriguez stood at the center of it all, her worn NASA jacket looking painfully out of place among the assembled representatives of 47 alien civilizations. She was 23 years old, fresh out of graduate school, and she was about to make history, though not in the way anyone had planned. The summit had been called to discuss Earth's recent admission into the galactic community. For 3 months, human diplomats had been negotiating trade agreements, cultural exchanges, and defense pacts. Emily was there as a junior xenobiologist, tasked with documenting the proceedings for the research team back home. Everything had been going smoothly until Erling showed up. Commander Erling HFY of the Varaxian Empire was a towering figure, even by alien standards. His species stood nearly 8 feet tall, with crystalline blue skin that refracted light into rainbow patterns, forearms extended from his broad torso, each ending in 3-fingered hands that could crush steel. His eyes, all 6 of them, glowed with an inner luminescence that had intimidated countless species into submission. The Varaxians were the Council's enforcers, the military might that kept the galaxy's peace. They had never lost a war. They had never backed down from a confrontation. Until today. The incident began during a routine presentation. Emily had been walking toward her seat, her tablet clutched in her hands, when she accidentally bumped into a Varaxian attendant. Her coffee, a precious commodity she'd brought from Earth, spilled across the floor. "I'm so sorry," Emily had gasped, immediately dropping to her knees to clean up the mess. That's when Erling intervened. His massive hand shot out and grabbed her collar, lifting her effortlessly off the ground. Emily's feet dangled in the air as she came face to face with the commander, her heart pounding so hard she thought it might burst from her chest. "You dare show such weakness before the council?" Erling's voice boomed through the chamber, translated instantly by the neural implants all attendees wore. "You grovel like a subordinate species? Is this the pride of humanity?" The hall fell silent. Every delegate, every aide, every translator froze in place. The air itself seemed to hold its breath. Emily's initial fear transformed into something else: anger. She'd spent her entire life being underestimated, being told she was too small, too young, too female for the positions she'd earned. She'd fought her way through academia, through NASA's competitive selection process, through 3 months of alien politics, and she wasn't about to let some oversized bully intimidate her now. "Let me go," Emily said, her voice steady despite the adrenaline flooding her system. Erling's eyes narrowed. "You dare give me orders?" "I dare ask for basic respect," Emily replied. "Something your species clearly needs to learn." A collective gasp rippled through the chamber. No one spoke to a Varaxian commander that way. No one. Erling's grip tightened on her collar. "Respect is earned through strength. What strength does your weak species possess?" Emily met his gaze without flinching. "The strength to apologize when we make mistakes. The strength to help others without being asked. The strength to show compassion even when it makes us vulnerable. If you think those are weaknesses, Commander, then you understand nothing about humanity." For a long moment, Erling simply stared at her. Then, slowly, he lowered her back to the ground. But he didn't release her collar. "Your species has been in space for barely a century," he said, his voice lower now, almost contemplative. "Yet you lecture me on strength. My species survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and our own stupidity." Emily shot back. "We've made it this far not because we're the strongest or the fastest or the most advanced. We've made it because we never stopped trying to be better than we were yesterday. Can you say the same?" Something shifted in Erling's expression. His forearms dropped to his sides, releasing Emily completely. He took a step back, then another. Then, to the absolute shock of everyone present, Commander Erling HFY of the Varaxian Empire dropped to one knee. "I have made an error," he announced, his voice carrying to every corner of the chamber. "I have treated this representative of humanity with dishonor. I have allowed my prejudice to cloud my judgment." The other Varaxian delegates immediately followed suit, kneeling in perfect synchronization. Within seconds, representatives from a dozen other species had joined them. Emily stood frozen, unable to process what was happening. Erling's 6 eyes locked onto hers. "In our culture, We are taught that might makes right, that the strong survive and the weak perish. But you have shown me something I had forgotten. That true strength lies not in the ability to dominate others, but in the courage to admit when we are wrong. He reached into his uniform and withdrew a small crystalline medallion. This is the star of HFY, my family's crest. It has been passed down through 40 generations of warriors. I offer it to you as a symbol of my deepest apologies and my profound respect. Emily's hands trembled as she accepted the medallion. It was warm to the touch, pulsing with a gentle light. I don't know what to say, she whispered. Say you will forgive this old warrior his ignorance. Erling replied, a slight smile crossing his alien features. And perhaps, if you are willing, teach us more about this human strength you speak of. Emily looked around the chamber at the assembled aliens, many of whom were still kneeling. She thought about all the times she'd been told to toughen up, to not be so emotional, to act more like the men around her. She thought about how her so-called weaknesses had just changed the course of galactic history. I forgive you, Commander, she said finally, and I'd be honored to share what humanity has learned. But on one condition, you have to promise to share your knowledge with us too. Real strength comes from learning from each other. Erling rose to his full height and extended one of his four hands. Emily placed her much smaller hand in his, and they shook. The hall erupted in applause. Later, as Emily sat in her quarters reviewing the day's events, she smiled at the medallion now hanging around her neck. Somewhere out there, Earth was receiving the news that their junior xenobiologist had just secured humanity's most powerful ally in the galaxy, not through force or cunning, but through simple human decency. She picked up her tablet and began her report. Day 94 of First Contact. Today I learned that sometimes the most powerful weapon we have is the willingness to be vulnerable. Recommend we lead with that.